All right, go ahead.
This is going to be our quick little thing that should take us very little time to show how this ugly door right here with a little bit of cleaning and a sponge. Now the sponge can be a rough side and a smooth side on it. This is more like just a sponge that you might use to go ahead and do some tile work. But you got to wet it down good first. So this is just a cleaning, but the idea behind it is to show the difference in the color of the wood once we oil it. In this case, we're just kind of cleaning off the old dirt, dust, and not putting enough water on to cause any warpage. Sponge, and I'll pick up the dust that way. You see the dirt even on that. So that gives you an idea of the first little shot we put on. Now, starting with a nice clean sponge works better. And also, you can use something like this, all those kind of wasteful. You should get a rag, if possible. We do have rags too, but for the moment, just to show you that difference, you can see how much is actually coming off the door once it has a little moment to soak. That's just on that one little panel. And so as you look at the next one, you'll also see the grains show up a lot more. In this case, this is a walnut, black walnut. Very common up north in the old days. Now it's about $10 a square foot. And this door has over 20 square foot of it, 2 inches thick, same as 40 square foot. See the difference between the bottom and the top, and we haven't even oiled it yet. So when you're doing something like this, the goal of it with a rag goes even faster. And also, if you go ahead and put oil on it. Now the oil, you don't want to put on until you get this cleaned up. So the whole idea behind this is mainly like those places with a lot of the dirt accumulated in those cracks. So the objective is to get it wet enough that the dirt will release. So scrub it a little bit and then wipe it all off. And this, we have water in here with just a little bit of lemon. You can also use oils, but you don't want it to soak in too much. And water actually doesn't soak in as much as the oil does. Okay, so for that purpose, put a little scrub to it. That's one of those sponges that has a scrub side to it. Now some doors can be really dirty, but they tend to be dirty on one side because it's always been sitting that way. So it won't be near as dirty on the top. Up here it won't hold the dirt that the bottom does. That bottom rail is what catches all the things. Now again, this is just water, so it's going to actually lighten up again after the water dries. And then once the water's dry, then you want to oil it. You don't want to oil it before the water dries off of it, because it'll cause it to trap water under it sometimes. Now those panels, when they're loose like that, if you want to, you can put a little dab of a caulk or something at the corner, but you want the panels to float, and that way when the door expands or contracts a little bit, it doesn't cause the panels to crack because they're glued to the sides. And that's a really important feature of old doors. You don't see it in new doors. So that's a quick demonstration just using water of what happens. And you already see it drying up, and as it does, it's going to get light coat again. At that point, we put an oil on it, and the oil is an oil and thinner mix using paint thinner, and that causes it to absorb extremely well. And we'll pause for a second. Thank you. Welcome back. We're now going to put a little bit of oil on here. We're going to show how oil works. You can see the difference. Now in this case, the oil's still pretty thick. It's a tung oil. Tung oil has an interesting element about it. It's actually so thick that you have to add thinner to it. In this case, I'm using a soda bottle. This is not the kind. As you can see here. So that's a lot, substantially oil, and it goes on real thick. So when I add thinner, And this is a regular paint thinner. You usually get the kind. So that's not quite 50-50. So I've added a little bit before I got on here, so this is, shake it up, and what that does is makes the oil thin enough to go deeper into the wood. So you saw over there, now this is more of a liquid, a thinner liquid, and it'll spread a lot easier and soak in deeper into the wood. So the goal being, unlike the water, when this fills it in, it keeps its color. And this rich, dark color is what you want out of the walnut. And you can also use a brush and paint it on, a sponge, a number of ways. The rag, if you use a rag like this, extremely, extremely dangerous. A rag with tung oil, like I'm using right now, seems harmless. Once upon a time I lived in a school bus in Las Vegas. And I did the whole interior of the school bus in wood, tongue grip wood. But it was so dry in Vegas, the wood was shrinking and cracking. And so I heard that you can put tung oil on it. So I got the tung oil, and I got the thinner just like this. And I went through my whole place doing this to the place. And it swelled up all the boards, got rid of the cracks, and it was incredible how it brought the color of the wood back out again from being just ugly, ugly wood. Except I forgot and didn't know, because back in those days they didn't put a label on there. And there's a very important label on this can, and I'm gonna bet most of you have never ever read the label on an oil, like tung oil or walnut oil, where you add this thinner to it. So I added the thinner, and I now have a soaking wet rag. Now mind you, this is in the art studios, they do this, they use tung oil, they use, I use walnut oil when you mix thinner with it. And some people use linseed oil. Again, they mix thinner with it. But if you take those oils in a rag like this, and when you're done with it, you just take the old rag like this, throw it down, forget about it. I did that. I was leaning up against the TV inside of my school bus. Hot summer day, I'm out dumpster diving, trying to find a bunch of stuff on my 10-speed so I can sell it to the flea market, get more money to buy parts for my school bus. And so I'm dumpster diving, I come back in, get a drink of water in my school bus, and it's like really acrid inside, really like my nose almost burns. I'm thinking, wow, that stuff sure cures strong. I'd never put any on before. I thought, man, it just must cure and make this really strong smell. Burning my nose. So I had a really good dumpster I was hitting up. Some guy had thrown away all of his girlfriend's stuff in Las Vegas, and it was just full of furniture and all sorts of stuff. So I came home with my 10-speed all loaded down, front and back. It's like a gold mine. I rushed into my bus again, and I got another drink of water, and it was even stronger smell. And I opened the windows up a little bit and went over the kitchen sink, and I ran back out again because I was getting all this good stuff. I was so busy thinking about that, my perspective was all about the stuff I was going to get, and never thought again about that until I got back the next time. The next time, it was almost like my eyes were burning, and my nose was burning, so like smoke. And I was like, gosh, it feels like, it's like almost like smoke in here. What's going on? And I couldn't find anything as I was walking around my bus, and then I looked over there, and that rag that was leaning up against, I was about to walk out the door, the driver's seat right there, and I looked at that, and it was on the desk. I was like, there's a whiff of smoke. And I grabbed it, and as I grabbed it up, it burst into flames, and I threw it out the door like a flying comet, and it already melted the plastic on the side of the TV, and burned a black spot in the top of the desk. And I walked out of the house again, it would have burned the whole bus down. It turns out that these rags have burned more shops and more places down than any other single item in the shop. And I even had guys in my place one day walk out here and threw it in a trash can. And it nearly caused the place to burn down because it turns, as it dries and cures, it heats up and gets so hot it'll burst into flames with a wisp of air. So, the most dangerous thing you can have in your shop, not the liquid, is the drying out rag. So for people that do decide to do this, don't be foolish. No matter what you do with oil when you put it in a thinner, don't ever leave the rag. What you're doing to solve this then, you take the rag out when you're done and you wet it down, wash it down with water, get it wet, and then you unfold it. Don't leave it crimped up. And lay it out flat. And it can't catch on fire, it can't cure and get all too hot that way. So when this rag is done right now, the real issue is leaving it wadded up so that as it cures, it gets hot and starts to fire. So I'm almost done with the door, and as I get done, it's easy to say, oh, I'll just run off and I'll be right back. I'll be just in a heartbeat. I'll come back here and I'll take care of cleaning up my mess and do something like this and go, okay, God, that looks really good. Man, let's go over to the table and set it down on the table, set the oil down, and walk away. That turns into a fire. So instead, you want to go ahead and undo the rag like that, take it on concrete, put it down on the concrete like that, after you made it soaking wet with water, and then let it dry out and it won't cause a fire. You can hang it up in the air, and it can hang like this. Just don't leave it wadded up. That's your big lesson. That's just the pretty part. So we have a before picture at the beginning, a picture at the end, and just in case. That's the before. So you can see how much difference that oil makes. And it does it so easily, so fast. And if you were to go out and buy the door and have it made, this would probably be a $600 or $700 door if you had it made in black walnut or some of these exotic woods. Pine, old pine, no knots, lots of natural color. This would be a $400 door. This is not veneer, it's real wood all the way through. So what we're going to do is offer this door, for example, as if you do a $50 paid membership, you're going to go ahead and get the chance to go ahead and get this door as your prize for that membership. I'm not going to have it all cleaned up like this. In that case, you want to do the $100 membership, and I'll send you one that's all cleaned up, and it's worth about $400, and you get $300 worth of benefit on your $100 membership. And we have cheaper doors, and we're going to show you more really elaborate doors so that you'll be able to see what's possible. Well, look at that. I didn't even put any oil on the rag. It's the oil that was left on the rag from the last time. And you can see it sucking it up. How it gets dry when the oil goes in there. That means it needs more oil. If it dries up right away. You want to soak it generally about 20 minutes. Check it and wipe it down again. And then that way, look at that. So, for all the people that want to go ahead and get a door, this is a surface mount. This is made to swing this way. This is called a left hinge door. And your lesson in that is, if you stand with your butt against the door, and you have it hit you when it opens, this side, which side is the hinge on? If I grab the butt, that's called the hinge butt, that means that that's a right-hand door, right hand open. It's confusing, because you think I'd have to open it with this hand. Actually, I would open it with this hand, which is the left hand, but it's actually a right-hand open door. It's confusing. So, when we start getting into the next week, we're going to have these little short seminars on how you clean up a door, and you can make a really ugly door with gorgeous paint on it, look really pretty, and that'll be the next lesson, one of these others. This is black walnut. We're going to be showing a number of cool doors, but this is the first. Thanks so much for visiting.